now on your Monday morning drive.
This tournament belongs to Ted Potter Jr.
Ted Potter Jr. went head-to-head with the world #1 on Sunday and walked away with a win on one of the game's most treasured courses. We'll show you how he did it, plus tips for your game from the winner's circle. Tiger Woods makes his return to Riviera amidst a strong field at the Genesis Open. And a lot has changed since he's been there last. But find out why one of our regulars thinks it's all positive for TW this week. And on this date in history, a dream was realized as one of golf's most memorable courses began to take shape.
Pete Dye will go for a swim today.
Wait a minute.
That's the All-American Park.
That is better than most. Better than most.
We'll relive our favorite moments from the 17th at TPC Sawgrass and share your thoughts on the iconic Island Green. It's all on the card this morning, Monday, February 12th, 2018. Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed your weekend. Hope you enjoyed the golf. Lauren Thompson, pleased to be joined by our Golf Channel insider, Tim Rosafort. We've got a host of other people in this studio too that's going to be helping us out over the next 2 hours. And usually you just kind of pop in on Mondays, give us some of your notes. You're with us for the full 2 hours. You ready for this?
LT, I'm trying to set a Golf Channel record, most shows in a 24-hour period. I got to admit, though, I started with a bogey last night. We start Golf Central, and Kara's there with us, and I said, "Good morning, Kara." Of course, it was like 6:30 at night. I'm okay, but I got you right this morning. Good morning, LT.
Good morning. Yes, we got it right today in the evening on Golf Central, and then, of course, today with us in studio, AP. So as you prepare to unleash on those notes, on all the players, things you need to know, let's get you over to the rest of our team right now. Tom Abbott with us in studio, AP, our LPGA Tour member, Paige McKenzie, and a PGA Tour winner, and Robert Dameron. Hello, hello.
Good evening. Good morning. Yeah, good evening. Good. Well done. Big weekend. Yes. Robert Dameron had a great day yesterday.
I did.
The 60s at Bay Hill.
60s at Bay Hill. First time in years.
You
got in someone's pocket, too.
I stepped up. I made a few bucks, got in someone's pocket. I had a good partner. All worked out well yesterday. Today can only be downhill from yesterday's.
The PGA Tour Champions is beckoning. Only, what, 5 years away, ladies
4.5-ish?
5 years away. You were the Ted Potter Jr. of Bay Hill yesterday.
Yes.
Because he had a fabulous week out at Pebble, winning for the second time on the PGA Tour. So let's take a look at some highlights from the final day. He was tied for the lead overnight with Dustin Johnson. Here he is at the par 5-6, his third shot coming out of the rough.
Well, if you're going to go head-to-head with Dustin Johnson, you're going to have to beat him with your short game because the driver's not going to be beaten. But Ted Potter had some great short game work this week.
He would birdie that to take a one-shot lead over Dustin Johnson at 16 under par. And then at the 7th, this was a great moment for Potter Jr.
Repeat exactly what Robert said. Some really brilliant short game moments yesterday.
Starting to edge ahead, a 2-shot lead at 17 under par. Let's fast forward to the 18th hole. Jason Day has a chance to put some pressure on Ted Potter.
Well, let's flash backwards to 2008. I played with Jason Day. He's about to make his first top 10 ever. He hit driver off the fairway on 18 onto the green. One of the 3 best shots I've ever seen in my life up close. He didn't quite pull that off yesterday.
He would finish in a tie for second. Phil Mickelson. This was really close from Phil.
Inches away from being a brilliant shot.
Phil was not able to put the pressure on Ted Potter Jr. coming down the stretch. So Phil would finish tied for second at 14 under. Back to the 2 players battling. Dustin Johnson at the 13th.
Just trying to apply some pressure to Ted Potter Jr., but he seemed like he was just playing by himself out there. He didn't notice anything DJ did.
And this was at the 15th hole.
And Dustin Johnson actually hit first and ended up short of the green. Ted Potter able to put a little bit of pressure on and continue to play well from out front.
He'd make a par there to remain at 17 under.
This is where that chip shot ended up, and
Dustin Johnson
that pretty much
out.
did it.
Yeah, that you've kind of felt then that it was Potter Jr.'s week And he would enjoy that walk up the 18th. He could have made a mistake on 18, but it didn't look likely with the comfortable lead. And so he could enjoy this victory at Pebble, putting his name alongside some of the greats in the game. His second career win on the PGA Tour. And Ted Potter Jr. is the champion of the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Here's how the final leaderboard looked. Phil Mickelson records his 7th runner-up finish since his last victory. Back-to-back top 5 finishes for Phil, following a 5th last week in Scottsdale. A couple of near misses for Ches Reavie as he posts the 3rd runner-up finish of his PGA Tour career. Jason Day's last start was a win at Torrey. Dustin Johnson had the lead going into Sunday alongside Potter Jr. He is the defending champion this week at Riviera. So let's talk about the winner. And we joked, didn't we? Just before we came on the air, we were kind of discussing what we were going to say at this moment of Morning Drive. And all three of us said, well, this gives a lot of hope to mini tour players all over the world, which is exactly what it does do.
It does. It gives the underdog a feeling that they can get out there and do it. It's like watching the Miracle on Ice movie. You want to get out there. I can make anything happen if these guys can do it. And when you see someone like Ted Potter Jr. who doesn't have the physical ability, obviously, of a Dustin Johnson, still just staying right there and beat him quite handily yesterday when they were tied for the lead at a course that Dustin Johnson knows and loves. It was a big win for the underdog yesterday. And Ted Potter, yes, he's an underdog, but he's been out for a while since his his last win, but he was a steady player for years before that. Yeah,
and it really validates, I think, all the hard work that he's put in between the two wins. It's been well documented, the injury that he had, and then he's had some ups and downs. After his win, he was asked, or his caddy, I guess, was asked, how many wins he had in these mini tours. And he said something like 60 wins on these mini tour 1-day, 2-day, 3-day events. And winning breeds winning. And I don't care what level. When you walk down the fairway and you have to hit a shot in order to get the W, it really doesn't matter where it is because you have those same type of feelings. And I think that's what the important takeaway is that here's a guy that's paid his dues all along the way. He did things the right way, continued to grind it out, and it showed. In that final round, he had to grind it out in the front 9 on a couple of really, really important par saves. And if you look at the leaderboard, you look at those players that were in second place, he beat Jason Day, Phil Mickelson, who's a 4-time winner here, Dustin Johnson, and Ches Reavie, who just lost in a playoff the week previous. So there's a lot for him to stand tall about today.
No question about it.
We're going to be opening up Rosie's notebook on Ted Potter Jr., so let's go over to Lauren.
Right to it. Dive deep. You ready for this, Rosie?
Let's go.
Good stuff. Ted Potter Jr., a Sunday 69, now a 2-time winner on the PGA Tour. You wouldn't exactly classify him as a household name, would you? So give us the backstory.
Well, let's start by saying that Ocala is a long way from Pebble Beach and also a long way from Pyeongchang. And it is the home of Ted Potter, winner of the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am in 2018, but also speed skaters Brittany Bowe, Aaron Jackson, and Tony Mantilla, which is obviously, you think of maybe equestrian riders coming from Ocala, but not speed skaters. And of course, Ted Potter is a story unto himself. Ocala's own Ted Potter, his dad grew up as working in a maintenance crew for a golf course up there, never went away to college. Basically went to Lake Weir High School, the pride of Lake Weir High. Self-taught, a guy who plays now, practices a lot at Golden Ocala, but when it comes down to it, he plays his money games. It's over to a place in one of those retirement communities that Ocala is also famous for, Stone Creek, where he mixes it up with the guys. And he's told Randy Briggs, who's executive director of the Florida State Golf Association, told me that he sets the bar for quiet guys. And while he is a quiet man, the golf spoke louder than words yesterday in the way he, as Paige just said, not only hit some incredible shots down the stretch, but held off an all-star leaderboard, Ted Potter Jr.
So everyone from Ocala very, very proud of all of their athletes this week. You also noticed a swing change for him, too.
Talking to his wife, Cherie, yesterday. She was watching at home. Usually tour wives don't take phone calls when their husbands are trying to lock up a win with like four holes to go at Pebble Beach. But she was in great spirits and told me a bunch of background about Ted, but also about how he was basically playing with a new golf swing. He just only had one swing all his life. His dad came home from his job and must have found a golf club, gave it to him. He flipped it over and started swinging left-handed with it. That was the swing that he swung with his entire life until just recently when he wanted to undergo a change, not by bringing in an instructor to do it, but just him and his caddy. And to think about that holding up under that type of pressure with the heat that was coming at him at the place, his backstory, winning up at Greenbrier, hurting his ankle, missing a couple of years. And then finally there's the Wizard nickname. People, it's obviously a takeoff on Harry Potter, but it's more than just the Potter name. It has to do with the way he plays golf. And they called him the Wizard, not because of his short game, quite honestly. And we saw him when he chipped in yesterday from behind the 7th green. That was why they called him the Wizard, because he used to do that stuff all the time on the Hooters Tour and all the mini tours that he'd play.
In the wizarding world of Ted Potter Jr. was the winner's circle walk-in that he got to do for the second time in his career yesterday. So much more from Tim Roseport coming up today on Morning Drive as we continue to talk about Ted Potter Jr., that swing, by getting you over to Paige McKenzie.
Yes, let's take a closer look at the swing, because if you were watching coverage yesterday, you would notice that it is unique. It is a little different than the conventional swing that we see on the PGA Tour week in and week out, Robert. So let's take a closer look at exactly what he does.
All right, let's do it. And Rosie said he changed his swing, and this is the swing he came up with through the changes. It's still very peculiar. It's very Ted Potter, but if you watch, the setup's fine, and let's go ahead and start it back. He's got a deep backswing. And the club gets vertical on the way back, which is not the most uncommon, rare thing. There's a lot of guys. I mean, I think Matt Kuchar's very deep. Chad Campbell gets it very deep across him. But here's where things go a little different and a little Ted Potter. Right here, I'm going to put this club on the butt of his club. Now let's move it and see what happens here. The club's, on line at the top. All right, that's not me moving my club. That's his hand going out and away.
It feels like it's an over-the-top move, but
look at this. Look where the club's coming from. The club head is not going over the top. The hands are moving out back in front of him to compensate for that deep backswing. It's not a move you would teach per se, but it's something that he used very well yesterday.
Yeah, and I think the common move from the top that we see a lot of players use is once they get here, they actually drop their hands this way. And that's how the shaft lays off. And he's able to move this way with his hands and still allow that shaft to drop down and into the slot on the way down. I want to point out one other thing. If we take another look at the golf swing, is that he actually hits, his angle of attack is a little bit different as well.
It is. He hits down on his driver, which is kind of a rarity on the tour. I mean, level to up is optimal. But let's watch. We'll keep an eye here where Paige is pointing.
You see
right after impact.
Watch the grass.
Watch this.
Yes.
Bam. He hits the grass. You see that little puff of dirt. He hit the grass with the back of his club after impact. That is something that I don't think I've seen anyone do. Maybe Corey Pavin used to do it when he hit that little skidder. But another unique thing. Look at this, Paige. Everyone else, they carry the momentum of the club carries them out, and both arms kind of straight. He holds on like this for dear life. I can only think that was, he used to fight a hook when he was a kid and learned to hate that shot, and he just like this to make sure that ball did not go left.
Well, Tom, it is certainly unique. We really enjoyed breaking that one down.
Well, Paige, also happening now, Mark Calcavecchia is celebrating his 4th PGA Tour Champions win this morning, his first since 2015 after he hung on for a wire-to-wire win at the Boca Raton Championship. Calc practices what he preaches. Here's what he told Charlie Reimer at the beginning of the week.
You got any tips for me?
Play hard. Putt good, play hard.
Hard did he play?
Drive it good, hit irons good, make everything. You'll be all right.
Mark Calcavecchia, very encouraging.
That's pretty much what he did all week long. This is Calc at the par 5 11th, fourth shot from the greenside bunker with the wind right into his face.
That is the definition of letting the club do the work. You can see how lazy the hands were. This allows the club to thump the sand.
He would save par, maintain a 3-shot lead, but it got a lot closer than that. One ahead on the 16th with his tee shot.
I was thinking 17 at Kiowa Island in the Ryder Cup, 91 when I saw this hole, and same result, right water for Calc.
Now has this long putt to save bogey.
This becomes very important, and you know he knows it. Wow, walking it in.
Tied for the lead with Bernhard Langer at 16 under par. Now to Langer at the 17th.
Good to see Langer finally amounting to something out there on PGA Tour Champions, but man, That was not expected, missing a 3-footer on the 71st hole.
That would be a bogey, and he falls out of a tie for the lead. So he needs to do something special on 18. This is second to the par 5.
Yeah, and this is a reachable par 5. Langer had hybrid in hand, but ended up well short in this fairway bunker. Not a good leave at all, as we know how difficult the 60-yard bunker shots can be.
Bunker to bunker for Bernhard Langer at that 18th hole, which was making life a lot easier for Mark Calcavecchia, because he could make par here and still win. Langer really not happy with himself that he didn't mount a bigger challenge on that final hole. But Mark Calcavecchia loves it. A kiss for his wife, who caddies for him out there on PGA Tour Champions. He finishes at 16 under par. So Calcavecchia becomes just the second player to go wire to wire in this event's 11-year history. It's the first time ever Calc has achieved the feat on either the PGA Tour or the PGA Tour Champions. He now has 4 PGA Tour Champions victories to go along with 13 wins on the main tour. Bernhard Langer records the 150th top 10 finish on the PGA Tour Champions. The record is 210 that is held by Hale Irwin. For more, here's Lauren.
Thank you so much. We're back with Tim Rosefort and Calc. Yeah, definitely taking advantage of Bernhard Langer's bogey finish. Mark Calcavecchia now a wire-to-wire winner. First time he's done that in his career, but the emotions in that winner's circle was what had you captivated.
Well, it did. This was Calcavecchia's 3rd win in South Florida. He grew up in West Palm Beach. He lives in Jupiter now. I remember the '87 tournament I covered for the Sun Sentinel in Fort Lauderdale. He was talking about just coming off the mini tours and driving this IROC Camaro that had so many miles in it and holes in the floorboard for.
That's what he was driving. That's such a musclehead car.
And also, he won in '98 at Heron Bay. He set off the rules controversy with his shot. He hit at the 16th hole at Eagle Trace in '87. He caddied for Ken Green the previous year when Green was down on his luck. Langer, just to go flashback on you, Langer was also the leader of that golf tournament going into the final round. Langer and Stewart ended up finishing second. That's Payne Stewart. So Calcavecchia at 26. That was his second win. He'd won in San Antonio the year before. He's now 57 years old. So a lot of stuff going through his mind. You know, his mom passing, all the time he spent commuting up and down the turnpike. He used to commute to Doral. That's the only tournament that broke his heart in South Florida. He had a real chance to win there in '90. Ended up losing a playoff to Greg Norman. That was the year Norman shot 65 for 19 holes. He went 62 and then 3 in the playoff to beat Calcavecchia and Tim Simpson.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting stuff right there. And just to put it all in perspective, that car that you were telling me about and all the ways that he's kind of gone about his career. The 1989 Open champion, all the wins he had on the PGA Tour, now 4 on the senior circuit, but it wasn't always a life of luxury. Tim Rosefort will be back with you later on in the show. But for now, Tom Abbott has the scoop on what's still on deck today.
Well, Lauren, here's our Monday tee sheet. Remember when Tiger would fizz those stingers off the tee? As Woods returns to action this week, Cameron McCormack will teach you how to hit the stinger as we preview the skill code, which is coming up tonight on Golf Channel. Speaking of Woods, golf blogger Jeff Shackelford will join us to weigh in on Tiger's chances this week at the Genesis Open. Woods first made his PGA Tour debut there back in 1992, and on this day in history, construction began on the first Tournament Players Club, now known as TPC Sawgrass and the home of the players. It would open in the autumn of 1980 and become the headquarters of the PGA Tour. The most famous hole at Sawgrass, without doubt, is the par 3 17th. So that takes us to our social question of the day. What is your favorite moment from the 17th at Sawgrass? Your all-time favorite moment? Send us your responses now on Twitter or Instagram using hashtag GCMorningDrive. You can send it at GCMorningDrive. So let's relive one of those great moments. It was from 2016, Willie Wilcox. A hole-in-one to send you to a little break as Morning Drive continues on this Monday morning. Look at that reaction to a hole-in-one. You never, ever forget that. He loved it.
I get out of bed like that in the morning.